Welcome to Kids Camp. My name is Keith Nelson and I bring you greetings from Camp Kalakwa and in the form of critters for Critters in Creation Time. Some of the critters that we bring here are rather small. You know, some cutest things are rather small, right? The cuter they are and the smaller they are, sometimes they hold our attention, and it doesn't take much. When God designs animals, He designed huge, big ones like the blue whales and the elephants, and He also made really tiny things like ants that could function really well. Size must not be a huge problem for God because He can pack a lot of neat designs into tiny little creatures. And I can pack some of those tiny little creatures into my pockets. Yes. Do you have one in your pocket? I got one in my pocket. Well, let's see what they are here. We'll put them right up here. And they are sisters. Just like some of you have sisters, this sister's a little bigger and a little older, but they're all just a few weeks old. They are some of this season's Sewanee cooters. The C-O-O-T-E-R comes from a native word, cooter, which meant turtle. And these guys, or girls I should say, are aquatic. They're designed by God to swim through the water with little webbed feet. Now notice both of them have kind of pulled inside and they're kind of scared to come out. In order to pull all their legs and feet and head inside their shell, they have to be holding their breath. They cannot breathe when they're all inside like that very well. It's very slow breaths and tiny because it's packed inside. Their shell is actually part of their skeleton, and their back ribs, just like the bones in the middle of your back, are attached to the shell, so they can't leave it. These guys are excellent swimmers, and they know how to go on land. Do you want to take one and share it with the boys and girls on this side? And I'll share them with these boys and girls, and we'll let you just put it in your hand and feel its weight and see how cute he is. She might not come out for a little bit. She's scared of all these crowds, but she could come out and jump right off your hand, so be careful. Don't let her do that. Let's see, is that Cadence? Do you think you could describe what you see?
I mean, like, it's kind of like kind of hard.
Kind of hard.
There's kind of browns.
How about you look underneath? What color is his belly, her belly?
Kind of yellow brown.
Yes, that's why they're nicknamed yellow bellies, but they're not afraid. So they have lots of markings and colors, don't they? Kayla want to hold it too? And the Sewanee cooter is designed by God to live in fast-moving or slow-moving rivers and ponds. And the Sewanee cooter can actually travel 60 to 70 miles in its life. Long ways it can swim, all the way down the Mississippi River. They live in the southeast in the same area that our camp is located in. Yes, and let me see if we can get back here. Miss Christiana, you have a question?
Do they live in salt or fresh water?
These are freshwater. That's a good question. It was? Okay, don't poke its head though, okay? Just look at it. You don't want to harm her. Here you go, Christiana. Okay, David, you had a question?
How big can they get?
Good question. They can get almost 15 and 18 inches around or across. And so they can sit on logs and get their warmth from the sunshine. We'll explain that. Maisie, did you get to hold it? There you are.
Do I hold it again?
No. Okay, so maybe Faith has a question here too, and I don't want to ignore this side. Faith?
What's their favorite food?
That's a good question. Faith wanted to know what their favorite food was. I'll be right with you, Lionel. Their favorite food is green plants, aquatic plants. That means plants that grow in the water. So they're actually called algivores. There's a good word for you. Not just herbivores, but algae-based or river bottom-based plants. Lionel has a question for us.
What's their lifespan?
So they can live about 30 or 40 years. And Kylie?
What likes to like get rid of them? What eats them?
What
or
eats
whatever?
them? Very few things will eat them, but here's the trick. If you're going to eat one of these in the wild as an animal, then you had better eat them when they're little. Because when they're big, their shells are tough, and only gators can eat the big ones. But birds, like herons and egrets, will swallow the little ones whole. So the little ones want to hide out and hide from the herons and egrets underneath branches or lily pads or floating hyacinths. And that way they can keep hidden, and they can actually hold their breath underwater for 20 minutes at a time. Esther?
What do they eat?
Yeah, they eat algae and green plants from the river.
How long can they be in their shell?
So they have to stay in their shell their whole life, but if they can pull back in for like 15 to 20 minutes, if that's what you mean.
Do they have any names?
These, yes. So this is like, you mean these two particularly are Sasha and Hannah. So here's Jackson.
If you drop them from a high height, will their shells crack?
Yes, yes. Their shells can crack.
Ruin their life?
That will kill them. Yeah, you don't want to ever drop a tortoise or a turtle, either one. Their shells can break. Docker.
Did you know if the turtle likes to stay out and play, if you take a brush and turn it around and like brush it on its belly, it'll
That's a good point. Some of you have pet turtles, and here's a little trick that Docker might be telling you about. They can feel it when you touch their shell. Or this top part is called the carapace. The under part is called, let's see, the plastron. And the plastron and the carapace both have feeling. So when you scratch their little underbelly or their top, they can feel it. Or when you brush it. Yes, David, you had a question?
How deep can they go in the water?
They don't dive real deep because the rivers and lakes they're in are usually only 20 feet deep. But they have found them down in the open mouths of the Peace River, probably at about 40 and 50 feet deep, David. All right, just a couple more questions. I see Hadassah has one.
Do they have flippers or claws?
They have what?
Do they have flippers or claws?
That's a good point. They have little webbed feet with little claws at the end so that they can dig and tear at maybe some branches or leaves, and they can eat it that way. Esther, last question for a minute here.
Can I hold it?
You want to come up here for a minute? All right, let's face this way, Esther. And you're going to hold it so the camera can see it. And it feels kind of cute and cuddly, right? Mm-hmm. But did you know they can actually climb straight up the back of a sofa with their little claws, or even cling to your shirt if they were aggressive enough? But right now they're feeling shy, Esther, so they're not going to come out. Can you look at the very edges and tell me what you see?
Like, there's like circles.
Little black dots, like someone took a magic marker and painted it on there like dots, right? And no two patterns or dots or pattern mix of these guys are alike. They're like snowflakes. They all have their own thumbprint, so to speak. And can you see on the very bottom side if there's some black dots?
Yeah.
Yeah. And those number of black dots can tell you about that one specific animal. It's unique. And so thank you for holding it, Esther. You can have a seat now. Sorry, can't everybody hold it right now. But here's what we're going to do. The beautiful thing about these guys is if you see one on land, did you know an aquatic turtle can go up on land and right up on the beach and right across roads? Maybe you've seen them crossing roads. They're looking to lay their eggs. They come out of the water and they find a sandy spot and they dig a big hole with their back feet, and then they'll lay 15 to 20 eggs. And when the mother walks away from those eggs and buries them, that's it. She doesn't have anything more to do with those children. When they are born and hatched, they will come out of their shell and they will immediately head for water. They know, even though that they have no mother to show them or no father to lead their way, God gave them what's called instinct to know where the water is, and they'll head straight for it. Shortest line, sometimes right through your yard. And these guys are a promise that water's nearby. If you see an aquatic turtle like with yellow stripes on its back like this, you know there's water nearby. That's a promise. Because aquatic turtles are never far from where their mother lived and swims. And so that's like an interesting thing to me. Did you know that God promises you a new home? And when these babies come up, they go right for their new home. That's right. We'll just leave them there and see if they come out. You watch quietly. Faith, did you have a question? I don't know if we can get a microphone all the way down there. I think so. Faith, what's your question?
Well, this isn't really a question, but I know baby turtles go out at night and seagulls try to get them while they're trying to go to the ocean.
But those are correct. Those are sea turtles. That's right. They come up from the beach usually at night to try to cover and hide. Yes, Kayla?
How big do the turtles
These get about 15 to 18 inches across, and they like to get up on the logs. He's going to turn high, and she'll sit up on a log to get warm because they're cold-blooded. So in order to get warm, they'll stick their feet out and gather sunlight, just like solar panels. We won't let it, Dean. It's okay. Thank you. All right, so let's see. I think this one's looking for a home. And I know that you and I are looking for a home of some permanence. And that home is going to be with Jesus. And when we live with Jesus forever, it will be the ideal. You can actually swim there too. But I want to tell you a story about another promised home. Once there was a big group of people known as the Israelites. And they were led by Moses through the desert to the promised home, the promised land of Canaan. But really, was Canaan their forever home? No. Heaven was their forever home. And Moses, when he got upset and forgot about who was in charge, and he tried to be in charge, then Jesus said, I'm sorry, you can't enter Canaan. The Lord said you can't enter Canaan. You're going to have to wait. And he showed him on top of a big mountain. Does anyone here know the name of the mountain that God took him up on? Does anyone know the mountain? I think Cadence might. Let's give it a shot.
Mount Sinai?
Close. That's where he got the 10 Commandments. Have you ever heard of Mount Nebo? Mount Nebo is where the Lord himself showed Moses the promised land and all the beautiful greenery and valleys, and said, I'm sorry, you can't go there, but you can come live with me. And when Moses died there on the top of the mountain, God himself buried him. And later, God came and took him and raised him up. And we know that that's a promise that he'll do for each of us and for everyone who has ever died in the name of the Lord. He will raise him up so that they can have a forever home with him. Would you like a forever new promised home with God? Yeah, me too. The turtles help remind us of that promise. Just like they find their way straight to water, Jesus wants to lead you straight to heaven and to have a forever home with him. And you never have to worry about any predators or dangers from the sky above or from the earth below. Thanks for coming, boys and girls. We hope you had a good time, and we'll see you next time. Bye.